Parent present? The gate agent's tone cut sharper than the scanner's beep. Two little black girls froze their escort badge bright orange, their hands clutching boarding passes that suddenly felt like accusations. "We're unaccompanied minors," one said softly. "Our dad signed the forms." The agent smiled. "The kind that isn't kind." "Then where is he?" the agent asked, louder now. "Because I don't see him." Passengers stared. A teenage live stream whispered, "Gate C12, two black kids getting blocked." The girl's braids glittered like armor when she answered, "My dad's Matthew Cole, he's waiting for us in Phoenix." The gate agent folded her arms, convinced she was enforcing policy. "No parent, no boarding," the crowd murmured. The air split half-silent outrage, half-quiet approval. And then the phone rang. 60 seconds later, the voice that sounded like thunder in a tailored suit grounded every plane in the system. Have you ever watched prejudice meet its consequence live? The first no hits like a hand snapped over a speaker. "Boarding pass and ID," the agent says, clipped, efficient. "Parent, present? We're unaccompanied minors," says the girl on the left, the one with a constellation of silver stars glued to her braids. "Our escort tag is with the supervisor." She walked us from security. The agent's smile lives only in the lower half of her face. "That's not how this works. We need a parent." The second girl holds up a lanyard with a bright orange badge. Unaccompanied minor. Her nails are tiny rainbows. Her voice is steady in the way children practice. "Dad signed all the forms. He's meeting us at the other end." "Where's Dad then?" the agent asks, raising her voice like volume is a policy. "Because I don't see him." A dozen heads turn, 30 phones follow. The gate clock reads 11:42 a.m. The monitor says, "Phoenix, flight 1080, on time." "Ma'am," says the escort supervisor, breathless from the trot back. "I walked them through. The paperwork is in the system." The agent doesn't look at the supervisor. She looks at the girls. Two brown faces, two identical sets of anxious dimples, trying hard not to form. "Who bought the tickets?" the agent presses. "Our dad," the Starbraids girl says. "And he's..." "Where?" "In Phoenix. So, nobody is here to vouch for you." The agent's eyes flick to the line. People start to sigh. Someone's suitcase tilts, wheels squeaking. A slow complaint joining the human ones. Next, the agent calls. The girls don't move. The escort supervisor steps between the girls and the counter like a human speed bump. "They're cleared," she repeats. "I scanned the paperwork myself. It's all in Sabre. Then Sabre can fly them to Phoenix," the agent snaps. "Because I'm not." The gate area tightens. A man in a golf shirt says, "Just let him on, for God's sake." A woman in a navy pantsuit loads her comment like a dart. "Rules are rules. We all have to follow them." The twin with rainbows on her nails looks at her sister and does not cry. 11:44. A teenage boy in an oversized hoodie lifts his phone and goes live for the internet, as if the internet were a person waiting at home. "Gate drama," he says, voice syrup thick with glee. Girls getting stonewalled." Someone whispers, "Look at them. They look 10. Someone else hisses, 12 at least. But still. "Ma'am," the escort supervisor says again, softer, as if volume has been the problem all along. "Please." "My job is safety," the agent says. "If there's fraud." "If there's..." "Fraud?" Rainbow Nails repeats. It's the first time the word lands on her tongue. It tastes metallic. "Those tickets were purchased in the last hour," the agent says, opening a window like a magician, opening an empty fist, daring you to see the bird that isn't there. "Upgrades. First class." Starbraids inhales. "He said he wanted us comfortable." "Sure he did," the agent says. The world turns by inches. The things people don't say gather like thunder. The escort supervisor's cheeks color. "Tess," she says to the agent. "Stop." Tess doesn't stop. She lifts the mic. "Attention, folks. I'll need to see proper ID for any unaccompanied minors. Airline policy. The girls hold up their lanyards again. They look small in a way that makes the air feel enormous. A woman 3 rows back mutters, "This is ridiculous." Another woman says, "It's about time somebody checked these things." The man in the golf shirt says to no one, "I've got a meeting at 2. Wrap it up." The Hoodie Kids live stream pops from 2 viewers to 200. Comments blossom. "Oh my God. They're babies. Let them on. This airline is wild. Do they have a parent?" 11:45. "Who's your father?" Tess asks, making the word sound like a spreadsheet. "Matthew Cole." Rainbow Nails says. The name goes nowhere in the room. It drops, unnoticed, to the ugly carpet. "And who is Matthew Cole?" "Our dad," Starbraid says, deadpan. "He's our dad." Tess works her jaw. She stares through them like the words are fog. "Manager to Gate C12, please," the escort supervisor says into her radio. "Right now." She turns to the girls and crouches low, eye level. "Hey," she says. The word a tiny raft. "We're gonna fix this." Rainbow Nails nods. Starbraids traces her own knuckle with a thumb, a little self-soothing circle. Hoodie Kid narrates. "They're saying Dad's name. Agent is trippin'." 11:46. The manager arrives in a black suit that wants to be a tuxedo when it grows up. He looks like a solution, until he starts speaking. "What's the issue?" he asks Tess. "Possible fraud," Tess says, like reading the time. "Unaccompanied minors with first-class tickets, purchased last minute, no parent present, no adult at gate." The manager, name tag R. Godfrey, looks at the twins. "Who gave you the tickets?" "Our dad," Rainbow Nail says. "And where is he?" "In Phoenix," Starbraids answers. Their voices land like pebbles in a storm drain. Clean. Irrelevant. "Do you have a phone number?" "Yes," Rainbow Nails says. She lifts her phone. Tess raises a hand. "We're not calling random numbers. It's our dad," Starbraid says. Her patience is a small, perfect thing. And watching it be ignored is like watching someone try to crush a firefly. "Ma'am," the escort supervisor says to Godfrey, "we can verify with corporate The file's got contact numbers. It's all in there." "Let's step over here," Godfrey says, tugging Tess toward the podium's shadow. They don't step far enough. The whole gate hears. "We can't keep boarding with a question mark," Tess says. "You're right," Godfrey says. "We need to resolve. Deny and rebook? Delay and verify," Godfrey says, which is the same thing in more expensive shoes. Hoodie Kids chat is a river now. Call their dad like what? If these were blonde girls, you'd wave them through. "To be honest, I fly this airline and this is not it." Don't assume maybe the agent is following rules. "First class? Really?" 11:48. The line halts. People sit because standing feels like taking a side. The PA hums a warning tone, and then the soft voice of a person who is always somewhere else. "Attention passengers for Flight 1080 to Phoenix. We are experiencing a brief delay. Please remain in the gate area. We appreciate your patience." A groan travels the room like a weather front. Rainbow Nails bites her lip. Starbraids reaches for her sister's hand with the casual grace of 1,000 practiced rescues. "Tess," the escort supervisor says, "I'll call the desk. You keep boarding zones 3 and 4. We're going to run out of time." Boarding is paused. Tess says, not to the supervisor, not to the twins, but to the power, humming in her own chest. "Why?" Hoodie Kid asks the air. "Because 2 kids exist?" The manager clears his throat into the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat while we resolve a documentation discrepancy." "Are we the discrepancy?" Rainbow Nails asks, voice tiny and furious. No one answers. 11:49. A woman with a baby strapped to her chest leans forward. "Can I sit with them?" she asks. "I'll vouch as an adult." Tess never breaks eye contact with the computer. "That's not how verification works." The escort supervisor's radio chirps. She turns away. Her mouth moves. She nods. She turns back. Dad's on the line, she says. Phone extended. Like peace. He's asking to speak to whoever's stopping his daughters from boarding. Tess doesn't take the phone. Godfrey reaches and presses speaker. Mr. Cole, he says, this is Gate Manager Godfrey. We're ensuring the safety of all passengers. By separating my children from the flight I paid for? The voice is low, a quiet surface over something with teeth. Godfrey swallows. We noticed a last-minute upgrade to first class and wanted to... You noticed they're in first class, the voice says. And you noticed they're black. Godfrey's eyes flick to the twins and away. That is not. Put me on with whoever is denying them. Tess takes the phone because it feels like not taking it would be an admission. This is Tess, she says. Hi, Tess. My daughter's paperwork is complete. The escort supervisor is with them. Why are you not boarding them? We have to follow policy, Tess says. Cite it. Tess blinks. Excuse me? Cite the policy that requires an unaccompanied minor's parent to be present at departure. Cite it, or stop hiding behind it. Godfrey steps closer to the phone. Like proximity is a shield. We're trying to prevent fraud, Mr. Cole. Fraud? He repeats, as if rolling the word in flour to see what shape it can take. They're 12. Someone in the rows says, oh my God. Someone else says, finally. 11:50. The flight crew appears at the gate, a pilot in navy and co-pilot behind, rolling their luggage like quiet punctuation. The captain's nameplate reads J. Archer. He takes in the tableau with one practiced sweep. Frozen boarding. Girls with lanyards. Manager in a suit. A gate agent whose smile has left town. We have a delay? Archer asks Godfrey. Godfrey gestures at the twins. Verification issue. The captain's eyes go to the girls. He softens in the way pilots do for turbulence and children. Did we check the file? Of course. Tess says too quickly. The escort supervisor says, no, she didn't. 2 beats. The gate breathes like a single animal. Do we have the father on the line? Archer asks. We do, Godfrey says, and we're handling. Tess lifts her chin. Captain, it's a safety concern. Safety, Archer repeats, tasting it. Whose? Please don't inflame the situation, Godfrey murmurs. Ladies and gentlemen, Archer says to the room, ignoring Godfrey, we're going to resolve this quickly. Hoodie kids chat. Oh my God, pilot is here. Let him fix it. Don't let MGMT spin this. 11:51. Mr. Cole, Archer says into the phone. Captain Archer, may I verify a few details with records? I'll wait, the voice says. Tess's fingers fly. The screen blinks. She stares at it like it has personally betrayed her. What does it say? Archer asks. Tess doesn't answer. Supervisor? Archer prompts. The escort supervisor leans over, taps keys like she knows where they live, and a document blossoms on screen. She reads, file complete. Primary contact, Matthew Cole. Secondary contact, the name after the colon isn't read aloud. Because Archer has already looked up from the screen as if the letters climbed out and shook his collar. What is it? Godfrey asks. Archer chooses his words, like defusing a bomb. Mr. Cole, he says to the phone. How far are you from a television? 12 seconds, Mr. Cole says. A remote clicks. The room hears the thin delay of a cable news feed. A host's voice. Breaking story. Viral live stream. Unaccompanied minors denied boarding. We're live? Godfrey whispers. Hoodie kid lifts his phone higher. We're viral, he whispers back. Thrilled and terrified. 11:52. Captain. Mr. Cole says, I would prefer not to escalate. My daughters need to be home by dinner. We're working to ensure that, Archer says carefully, but I must ask something. Are you... Say it, Mr. Cole says. The CEO of this airline. Silence decides to be a person and sits down in every seat. The twin on the left, star braids, blinks slowly like a cat. Rainbow nails, squeezes her sister's fingers. Tess opens her mouth and remembers how to close it. Godfrey's tie suddenly feels like a noose. "Captain," Mr. Cole says evenly, like giving a weather report. "I am." The agents forget to breathe. Someone near the window actually laughs. A shocked little bark that has no friends. "Dad," Rainbow Nails says, stepping closer to the phone. "Can we come home now?" "You will," he says, and the thing under his voice shows its teeth. 11:53. Archer looks at Godfrey. "We're boarding them. We need to." Godfrey starts. "No," Archer says. "We don't." Tess finds her voice in anger. "I've been targeted by corporate before for doing my job." "You targeted kids for existing," the escort supervisor says. Not loud, but it lands anyway. Godfrey reaches for the mic, like a life preserver. "Ladies and gentlemen," the phone crackles. It's not the handheld now. It's Archer's cockpit radio. "Operations." Then a voice heavier than operations. "Ground control smooth, legal scented. Captain Archer. This is Systems Operations Control. You are instructed to hold departure. Do not close the aircraft door. Do not seat passengers until directed." "Copy," Archer says. He looks at the girls. "We're going to fix this." Hoodie Kid's stream dwarfs the gate now. A counter in the corner rockets. 20K, 40K, 70K. Someone says, "Holy," and bites off the rest. 11:54. "Mr. Cole," Archer says. "We can." "Jason," Mr. Cole says, calling the captain by his first name because he can. "You're about to get a call telling you to delay for verification. It will be framed as safety. It is not about safety." The overhead speakers ping. "Attention all gates," a woman says with an authority that suggests her desk has too many screens. "Hold on all active boardings. Priority call incoming." Tess blinks like someone just let sun into a basement. Godfrey stares at the ceiling, as if he can locate the voice through drywall. Archer's radio pops again. A different voice, colder, the kind people don't meet until something has gone very, very wrong. "Captain Archer. Executive Ops. You will cease boarding. Maintain your position. Ground delay program. Initiating effective 11:58. Godfrey stammers. "Ground delay? Which airports?" Archer asks, because he speaks the language of moving parts. "System-wide," the voice says, and the word lands like an earthquake whose aftershocks will reach desks and pensions and someone's idea of their own goodness. "What is happening?" Tess whispers. "My father," Starbraid says, "is stopping your airplanes." 11:55. The PA dings again, almost sheepish now. "Attention passengers. We are experiencing a brief all gates hold. Please remain near your departure area. The gate screens flash yellow." The tail numbers on the runway seem to pause mid-blink, like startled birds in sunlight. Hoodie Kid whispers into his phone. He grounded the flights. The chat is a storm. "No way. CEO Dad Power Move. This is a movie. Don't cry, girls. You're okay. Holy. This is justice." Archer straightens his tie that doesn't need straightening. "Mr. Cole, with respect, this will cost us millions of dollars in minutes." "With respect," Mr. Cole says. "It already cost us something more." Archer nods. Of course he nods. He has a son and a lucky keychain and 1,000 mornings of getting it wrong, then trying again. 11:56. Broadcast vans begin their slow creep toward the terminal. Someone somewhere spills coffee on a printout that already doesn't matter. PR drafts and redrafts opening lines with words like "deeply troubled" and "unacceptable" and "immediate review." At the gate, the manager has forgotten his script. He looks at Tess, who looks at her shoes. The escort supervisor steps forward. "Girls," she says, "come with me." "Stop," Godfrey says. But there's no muscle behind it now. The weight moved elsewhere. Archer puts a hand on the stanchion rope and simply lifts it aside. the way you would move Ivy. 11:57. Security arrives. Two officers who train to be reasonable and don't know why cameras make their hands feel large. They evaluate the scene the way people scan for exits in a theater. What's the issue? The taller one asks. Verification, Godfrey says. It sounds bankrupt. The shorter officer looks at the twins, and at the orange tags, and at the escort supervisor's badge, and at the pilot's face, and makes a bet. We'll stand by. Thank you, Archer says. Tess takes a breath to say something that will not age well, and swallows it so hard it looks like it hurts. 11:58. The room is full of clocks, wristwatches, phone corners, the big digital above the jetway. They run like bass drums. In time. The corporate radio opens again. A new voice whose job is to sound like the end of a hallway. All stations notice, effective immediately. Temporary ground stop in effect pending executive directive. All flights hold in place. Do not push back. Repeat. Do not push back. The baby on the woman's chest leaves a damp patch of drool on the supervisor's sleeve. She doesn't notice. Rainbow Nails whispers, "Is this our fault?" No. The escort supervisor says, "This is their moment to learn." 11:59. Mr. Cole doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. So when he says, "Captain Archer, please board my daughters," it sounds like an invitation and an order, and the end of something that needed ending. "Yes, sir," Archer says. He extends a hand like he's inviting them across a stage. For once, two little black girls get the center without the stage swallowing them. They step forward. Tess opens her mouth. Archer's glance closes it. The girls pass under the arch of the jetway door, as if underwater, into quiet. The gate holds its breath, like an audience waiting to see if the trick is real. It is. 12. The moment they vanish, the sound returns voices. Radios. The pained squeal of someone's carry-on wheels. The keyboard clatter of 100 thumbs turning an anecdote into a movement. Godfrey looks 10 years older than he did at 11:45. He turns to Tess. "You will not speak to anyone," he says. Tess whispers, "I was following policy." "You invented one," the escort supervisor says. "It's not cruel. It's exact." Archer steps into the jetway. He will not watch this part. The ground stop, like storms and rumors, keeps spreading. 12:03. In the forward galley, the flight attendant with the chestnut bun name tag, Ava kneels to eye level with the twins as if greeting VIPs. There are 2 hot chocolates in her hands that materialized out of thin air and kindness. "For you," she says. "Welcome aboard." "Thank you," Starbraid says. She reads things in rooms like closed captions. She knows the difference between kindness and performance. This is kindness. "Dad?" Rainbow Nails asks the air. Ava keeps kneeling. "We'll call him from the front. Want to see the cockpit? Are we allowed?" Starbraids. Whispers. Like it's church. Ava smiles. "Today," she says, "you are allowed everything." They step into the cockpit and the world becomes buttons and lights and 2 men in uniforms, willing to make room. Archer swivels, his face suddenly all father. "Hey there," he says. "I'm Jason." He points to the yoke and to a row of switches he has already ensured are disabled. "Want to see how we fly?" Rainbow Nails looks at her sister. Starbraids looks back. They nod, solemn as judges. Ava rests the hot chocolates on a narrow ledge. Archer puts the headset gently over Rainbow Nails' braids. The co-pilot, who is 27 and has never been afraid of much, sees his own little cousin somewhere in these girls and has to look away for a breath. "Okay," Archer says. "We're going to talk to someone important." Ava presses a button. Mr. Cole's voice fills the cockpit like weather. "Hi, baby birds." "Dad," Rainbow Nail says, and this time she does cry, but a clean, relieved crying that rinses the room. "We're okay," Starbraid says, squeezing the mic with 2 hands like she's afraid it will float away. "I know," he says. "You were always okay." "Are you mad?" Rainbow Nails asks, nose sniffing in defiance of a tissue. "I'm busy," he says, which is a kind of honest. But I'm proud of you for being brave. Ava looks at Archer. Archer lifts his chin. The agreed signal for now. Girls, he says, we delayed a lot of airplanes. Your dad is fixing the whole sky, but we're going to do our part. You'll be home by dinner. Promise? Starbraids asks. Pilot's promise, he says. It's the only kind that matters in rooms like this. 12-6. Outside, statements spin up. Inside, the twins take their first sips of chocolate and discover that safety has a taste. Ava buckles them into 2 amperes and 2B because some symbolisms write themselves. She tucks their small backpacks under their seats, like a sacred ritual that keeps wolves out. Passengers pass them, pausing to smile, that complicated adult smile that apologizes for the species without asking for absolution. A woman in a pantsuit stops. She opens her mouth to say something that would have been, "I'm sorry," and chooses instead, "Welcome aboard." "Thank you," Starbraids says again, because a lot of bad moments stay small if you flood them with good manners. 12-9. On the concourse, Godfrey tells Tess to come with him to a back office. The escort supervisor watches them go. She doesn't like blood, but she likes accountability. Hoodie Kid signs off, heart pounding. His follower count doubled. He looks at the End Live button, knowing he's going to hit it, and then watch the video again. Like a movie, with an ending he now knows. He does not know that tomorrow, a producer will call his phone and ask for permission to air his footage. He does not know he will say yes, and that 1,000 women will argue in comments about tone and patience and whether rules were broken. He only knows. His hands are cold. 12-12. The corporate radio finds Archer one more time. Captain Archer, Exec Ops. Mr. Cole is en route to the downtown office. There will be an address at 1300. Flight 1080. Cleared to close door. Archer breathes out in a way he didn't notice he was holding his breath. Copy. The door hisses closed with a suction certainty that never gets old. Ava does the safety demo as if reading a bedtime story. The plane pushes back. Rainbow Nails presses her face to the window and waves at no one. Starbraids asks Ava, "Do clouds feel like marshmallows, or like nothing? Like something between?" Ava says, "Like walking through a memory." "Okay," Starbraids says, making a note to test this description with her whole body at 30,000 feet. 12-16. On the tarmac, other tails begin to twitch awake. The ground stop lifts one field at a time, like a hand leaving a throat so the voice can return. The system groans in gratitude and complaint. In an unremarkable conference room that has seen too many decisions about money and not enough about dignity, Mr. Cole lays a folder on a table and slides it across to legal and to HR and to a PR director who still looks like she hasn't picked an expression. The folder is labeled Immediate Equity Protocol. "Today," he says, "we say the truth plain. We explain our actions, and we don't blame processes that we designed." "How long will the ground stop stand on our neck?" asks a COO, with a hairline like a coastline on a map. Mr. Cole folds his hands. "Long enough for me to believe we mean it." "And the 2 employees?" Legal asks, trying to sound neutral and landing somewhere near resigned. "Suspended," Mr. Cole says, then offered a choice: public accountability that helps fix what they broke, or termination with cause. PR looks up, surprised. "You're not firing them?" "I'm not in the business of making villains," Mr. Cole says. "I'm in the business of ending habits." 12-21. At 30,000 feet, the girls take turns discovering that the world changes color at altitude. Rainbow Nails opens the shade, like a curtain on a private theater. Starbraids points out that roads look like threads that someone forgot to tie off. "Seatbelt sign off," Archer says, and the lights chime. He leans on the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to reach Phoenix on time. You'll be met by a lot of cameras. If you film or speak, please remember there are children on board." A woman in 4C nods and puts her phone away. A man in 1D keeps his out but lowers it so that the camera catches knees and shoes and not little faces. Ava appears with a small plate of chocolate chip cookies that might as well be a peace treaty. She kneels again, because the best power always chooses to be small. "Can I ask a question?" Rainbow Nails says. "Always," Ava says. "Why do some grown-ups think we don't belong?" Ava takes a second. She has a script. She decides not to use it. "Because sometimes grown-ups forget how to see," she says. "We look at what scares us instead of who's in front of us. That's not your job to fix. It's ours." Rainbow Nails nods, in the way kids nod, when something settles into their bones with a name. 12:34. Back on the ground, a live camera points at a podium where Mr. Cole will stand. Commentators rehearse their outrage and their hope and their questions about unions and liability and whether this is PR or repentance. In a dim hallway behind the podium, Tess sits on a folding chair with a corporate envelope on her lap. Inside is a letter with words like "paid administrative leave" and "pending investigation" and "opportunity to participate in corrective initiative." She reads it 3 times. She thinks of her rent. She thinks of her dad's face when he retired with a cake that tasted like nothing and hands that had held 4 decades of tired. She thinks of the moment at 11:45 when she felt a little thrill at having the power to say no. She thinks, clear as glass, "I was wrong." Beside her, the manager rubs his forehead and stares at a wall. He will tell himself for days that he had the right instincts, but the wrong script. He will tell himself until it feels less like a lie. The escort supervisor, whose badge says Alma, texts her partner. "It got wild, but we did the right thing. We made it right." 12:48. In row 2, the girls trade cookies, a commerce as pure as any bond market. They pass a napkin back and forth with the solemnity of treaty signers. "Can we still have spaghetti tonight?" Starbraids asks the intercom, as if the cockpit is a kitchen and the pilot is a chef. Archer's laugh filters through like a breeze. "You will have so much spaghetti you will invent a holiday and name it after noodles." "Good," she says, and returns to the panorama of cloud. Ava folds blankets at their feet and thinks of all the children who never asked to teach adults anything and had to anyway. 12:57. The aircraft begins its descent. Phoenix rises out of heat like a magic trick, with no patience for applause. Seatbacks and tray tables. Ava sings softly, a lullaby to engines and human nerves. Archer's voice is steady. "Flight attendants, prepare for landing." The twins clasp hands. Neither squeezes too hard. They are not afraid of landings. They are practiced in arrivals. 1:12 p.m. The wheels kiss the runway with a kindness that suggests practice. The cabin applauds and then looks around to see who started it and why they're embarrassed. "Welcome to Phoenix," Archer says. "It's sunny and clear and ready for you. Please remain seated as we taxi to the gate." Rainbow Nails watches the tarmac scroll like a movie credit. Starbraids bites her lip and tries not to smile. She fails. Gloriously. The aircraft slows. The jetway meets it. The door opens. The world pours in. News cameras, boom mics, people with badges, and questions. And that hungry look. Justice brings to faces that haven't seen it up close. Archer blocks the entrance with the gentle certainty of a shepherd who understands wolves. "UM's first," he says to the press. And the words make him happy. For once, a barrier makes something safe. Ava appears with 2 small backpacks and 2 brave faces. She looks at them like a friend who knows the exact step between rooms. "You ready?" "No." Rainbow Nail says honestly. "Yes," Starbraid says, which is also true. "Okay," Ava says. Together, they step into the jet bridge. A wall of sound waits at the end. A familiar voice breaks through the noise, like a lighthouse. "Baby birds." Both girls run. Cameras lunge. Security flinches and does not interfere, because there are reunions that do more for the average heart rate than any defibrillator. Mr. Cole kneels. The twins hit him with enough force to move him half an inch on polished shoes. Sorry about the sky, he murmurs into hair that smells like airplane chocolate and kid sweat, and attention both new and ancient. I'll put it back. You didn't break it, Starbraid says into his collar. He smiles without joy. We did, he says. A long time ago. He stands with a daughter on each side and faces the cameras. Good afternoon. They quiet. Reporters as a species know when the thing they came for is happening. I'm Matthew Cole, he says. I'm the CEO of this airline. Today, at Gate C12, 2 employees denied boarding to my daughters, despite completed paperwork, a supervising escort, and our own policies. And with Masamos by 2-4, someone exhales too loudly. He waits. The room behaves. I grounded flights for 26 minutes, he goes on. Not because my daughters were mistreated, but because mistreatment is a system problem, not a doorway problem. We will not move more airplanes until we know those airplanes move people with dignity. He lets that sit. People write it down like a prayer they think they might need later. Here's what happens next, he says. And the next is a ladder he has rehearsed in mirrors for years. Every customer-facing employee will undergo immediate training led by independent experts. Every gate will have an escalation path that routes through equity officers, not just managers. All unaccompanied minor procedures will be audited by a third party within 60 days. We will install auditing measures on discretionary denials at boarding, and those metrics will be public. We will make body-worn cameras available to gate teams for high-friction interactions, and we will require that those videos be reviewed when complaints are filed, not when lawsuits land. He glances at the hallway where Tess sits with her envelope and too many thoughts. The 2 employees involved will be given a choice. Participate in a year-long public-facing accountability program, speaking to crews about bias, learning in public, listening in rooms that might not welcome them or be terminated with cause. We're not going to make an example out of them. We're going to make an example with them. A reporter raises a hand like a student. Is this because they're your daughters? It is because they are, he says, and because we are. I am a father. I am a CEO. I am black. None of those facts should be required to fix what any decent company should fix on a normal Tuesday. Are you worried about backlash? Another asks. I'm worried about not changing, he says. He looks down. 2 small hands are wrapped around his. Rainbow nails and star braids stare at the microphones like they might grow teeth. Do you want to say anything? He asks them. Starbraid says, we just wanted to go home. Rainbow Nails says, thank you to the lady who helped us, and the pilot, and the cookie. Laughter ripples. Surprised. And human. Mr. Cole leans in 1 inch. Me too, he says to the cookie comment, because it helps. He turns back to the cameras. We're going to make mistakes, he says. We will also, starting today, make fewer. There is applause. There are tears. There is someone rolling their eyes in the back because cynicism is cheaper than hope and comes with free refills. 2 weeks later, Tess stands on a low stage in a training room named after a city. Rooms have names like that when companies have more money than imagination. She adjusts a microphone. My name is Tess, she says. I was the gate agent at C12. There's a ripple the way there always is when a character steps out of a television into a room with oxygen. I thought I was following policy, she says. I wasn't. I was following a feeling I didn't test. I'm here to do the testing in public. It is not comfortable. Good. She tells what happened. She says, I saw their age. I saw their seats. I saw their faces. I thought I was seeing safety. I was seeing bias. And one is no have redunders. With ready, with gover. In the second row, Alma, the escort supervisor, nods like a metronome set to accountability. After, someone asks Tess if she's afraid of being hated. I'm afraid of being the same, she says. At the back, a captain who isn't Archer writes that down on the edge of his crew schedule and underlines it twice. 4 months later, the metrics dashboard on the company website shows charts like mountains that learned humility. complaints down 73%. Discretionary denial disparities trending toward parity. Gate escalations resolved by equity officers without incident. 88%. People argue about the cameras. People always argue. Some arguments are good. Some are furniture rearranged to feel like action. The numbers keep moving. Ava sits with a group of trainees and unpacks what kindness at a gate looks like. It is not a cookie. It is remembering that the person in front of you is not the worst person you met that day. Archer's son asks him at dinner, "Did you really stop all the planes?" "I helped start ours," he says. "Someone else stopped the sky. He started it again, too." "What did the girls say?" his son asks. "They wanted spaghetti," Archer says. "We got our part right." He doesn't tell his son that he has kept the tiny headset-sized indentations in his heart where two small voices fit. He doesn't have to. A year later, a letter appears on Mr. Cole's desk. He opens it because he still reads the ones that aren't addressed by publicists. "Dear Mr. Cole, I'm a gate agent in Tulsa. I was at the training where Tess spoke. I didn't like her at first. I didn't like what she made me feel. I kept thinking about the twins. Last week, an unaccompanied boy showed up with first-class seats at my counter. I felt the old feeling. I took a breath. I followed the policy. I boarded him." His aunt cried on the phone to me later. She said she was braced for a fight and got a kindness. That's on you. Or maybe on those girls. Or on Tess. Either way, thank you. He forwards it to Alma and to Ava and to Archer and to legal, because nothing keeps lawyers honest like good news they didn't bill for. At home that night, Starbraids, whose name is Maya, writes a poem about a gate that thought it was a guard and learned it was a door. Rainbow Nails, whose name is Quinn, paints a picture of an airplane with a heart where the logo would be. She adds glitter to the wings, because glitter is truth that refuses to be subtle. They do not remember the names of all the adults from that day. They remember the feeling of a hand moving a rope aside. They remember hot chocolate. They remember their father's voice wrapped around them like a seatbelt at the moment between ground and sky. If you ask them now what happened, they will say, "We were late for dinner. We made it." And if you ask Archer, he will say, "We all did. We just took the long way." The day the ground stop became a case study instead of a crisis, the airport moved, the planes left, the charts climbed, the arguments softened. Justice didn't arrive like lightning. It arrived like boarding groups. Methodical, announced, inevitable. Someone scanned, someone smiled, someone waved you forward. 1,000 little doors clicked open in 1,000 little rooms, and for once, the sky bent down to meet two little girls instead of standing on its dignity. There will be other gates, other Tesses, other days when rules try to do the work of love and fail. There will be other letters, other trainings, other cookies in the galley, because kindness needs carbs. There will be Maya and Quinn, who will someday walk into a lobby for a job and feel someone's eyes try to sort them and will think, "Not today. We belong." The door knows it. And if you listen very carefully at certain gates in certain airports now, you can hear the sky clearing its throat, as if to say, "Next."